All right, so now I'm going to look at a brand of questions in analytical geometry that tend to make students a bit uneasy. But hopefully, as we go through them together, you'll be able to find that they're not too bad. In actual fact, they're quite easy and very straightforward. So there are situations where we are required to find an unknown coordinate, where, for instance, the distance is given to you. So for instance, here's the question. We are told if CD, so CD is the line segment, if CD is equal to 5 units and C, which is obviously a point, the endpoint of CD, is negative 5 and 1, and D, which is the other endpoint of CD, is K and 4. The question then is, what is the value of what? Of K. So in other words, they want the y, we want the y coordinate of the endpoint. We want the x coordinate of the endpoint of point D. We want the x coordinate, and it's represented by the variable K. Right? So typically, CD is a distance, and we are given that it is 5 units. So here we're not required to calculate the distance, but rather we want to find the coordinate of D, the x-coordinate of D, which is basically the endpoints of CD. There's C and there's D, which are the endpoints. So what we do, CD is equal to 5 units, and what we would then do is we would use the typical distance formula with 5 units safely nestled on the right side. So what's the distance formula? Now I'm just going to use XC. Right, sorry for that. I'm sorry for this. I'm just going to use XC minus XD. Because remember, I said you could do that. XC minus XD plus the whole thing squared plus YC minus YD. The whole thing squared. Okay, I'm just going to do it because for me, I love that. So you can use a typical x1, y1, all of that stuff, but I just going to use that. Now, what is the x coordinate of C? X coordinate of C is negative 5 minus, what's the x coordinate of D? That is the K value that we are looking for. Plus, what's the y coordinate of C? The y coordinate of C, remember what's the y coordinate of C? Y coordinate of C is 1 minus, what's the y coordinate of D? Y coordinate of D is 4. Okay, and we can square that. Then we have our 5 units that's there. So hopefully you can see that, and that's very, very important for you to note. So let's just sort out what's inside the square root, because we have the square root of 5 minus k. Now before that, maybe what we can do very easily is we can do the following for ourselves. We want the square root to be removed because it will basically interfere or get in the way of us solving for k. So what we do is we square both sides. Okay, why? Because the inverse operation of a square root is for us to square. But for an equation, whatever we do on the left, we must do where? On the right. So by squaring this, what happens is the square root is removed. And that allows us to be able to work. So when we square 5, we get 25. Now we can go ahead and solve this equation and solve for k specifically. So minus 5 minus k, the whole thing squared. Let us remember, guys, that from grade 9 and earlier on this year in term 1, whenever we have a binomial bracket and there are 2 terms inside and there's a square, that means we must open what? 2 brackets. Please, guys, note this very important thing, because so many times learners mess up here. 1 minus 4 is negative 3, the whole thing squared, and obviously our 25 is safely nestled there. Negative 5 minus k, what we then do is we FOIL. negative 5 times another negative 5, that gives us 25. Negative 5 times the negative k, that gives us plus 5k. Minus 5 times negative 5 gives us plus 5k. And then negative k times negative k, that gives us plus k squared, plus negative 3 squared gives us positive 9, equal to 25. So hopefully, guys, it's coming on very nicely and we can see the end is near. So let's see. Then k squared first. 5k plus 5k gives us 10k. 25 plus 9 minus 25, which is equal to 0. Okay, then we say k squared plus 10k. 25 minus 25 is 0, plus 9. See what we have now? We have a trinomial quadratic expression on the left. K squared plus 10k plus 9. Now we in term 1 did solving for an unknown when we have a quadratic equation. So what we know is what we need to do is we need to factorize. So now we are applying our skills that we learned in term 1. The factors of 9, which when I multiply together give me 9, and which when I add together give me 10. Okay, because remember, positive means we have the same signs inside the bracket according to the sign of the middle term, which is positive 10. So we have the factors are 9 and 1. Okay, therefore k is equal to negative 9, or k is equal to negative 1. Two answers here. What is the values? Sorry guys, that's what usually the question says. What are the possible values of k? Okay, so I'm just going to reread this question. If CD is equal to 5 units and C negative 5, 1, and D is k and 4, what is the values of k? What are the possible values of k? That's how the question usually is phrased. Okay, so what I did is I said to you guys, what we initially do is we take CD. We know it's 5 units. The distance has been given to us. The distance formula to calculate CD would be the square root of, so x coordinate of C minus x coordinate of D, the whole thing squared, plus y coordinate of C minus y coordinate of D, the whole thing squared. Underneath the square root equal to 5 units. Then what we do is we substitute the values. The x coordinate of C is negative 5. The x coordinate of D is a negative k. Then we square it, plus the y coordinate of C is 1. The y coordinate of D is 4. There's already a negative sign, minus 4. Okay, the whole thing squared. Then what we do is we square both sides. Why do we square both sides? To get rid of the square root. But what we do on the left with an equation, we do where? On the right. So 5 squared is 25. The units, guys, doesn't necessarily have to feature now because we want to solve for the unknown. Then, like I said, guys, what we do is on the left, we have that negative 5 minus k, which is in brackets, the whole thing squared. That means we open two brackets of minus 5 minus k. We then FOIL, multiply out. Negative 5 times negative 5 gives us 25. And then negative 5 times negative k plus 5k, negative k minus times negative 5 gives us a plus 5k. And then we get negative k times negative k gives us k squared. Then negative 3, the whole thing squared, is positive 9, which is equal to 25. We then rearrange our terms properly with the variable with the highest degree, k squared first, followed by 10k, because 5k plus 5k is 10k. Then followed by 25 plus 9. We transpose the 25 on the right hand side, meaning we take the 25, we move it over to the left, we get negative 25. We add the like terms, we get a quadratic equation of k squared plus 10k plus 9 is equal to 0. We factorize, we get our roots. K is equal to negative 9, or k is equal to negative 1. These are our possible k values. This is how we approach this question. Whenever we are given the distance and we want to find an unknown value. This is how we go about it. Please, guys, find some activities in your mind action series textbook and